Peter Thiel, definitely not the Antichrist, right?
Antichrist or Armageddon.
Definitely wants humanity to thrive, right?
You would prefer the human race to endure, right?
Uh, I would.
We may have found out his secret plans. Come with me and explore them.
Been researching one of the weirdest stories that I've ever looked into. It's about a once fringe movement among the tech elite that aims to replace governments entirely with corporations.
Governments with corporations? Now, you may already think that government has already been replaced by corporations, but maybe this is a more blatant and in your face way of corporations just snagging control of the government out in the open.
Privatized societies run by CEOs built for profit, not for people.
It sounds like instead of nation states, they want corporate states. That's crazy to me.
Almost like they wanted their own little worlds, playlands, built just for them based on their desires.
Rights, rules, and authority, all dictated by CEO billionaires. What could go wrong?
I eventually pulled away from the story because it seemed a little more silly than anything to be concerned about. But then I realized they might already be getting their way. Just look at Doge and Palantir replacing or breaking the basics of the government. The plans for a futuristic, privatized new Gaza. AI infrastructure growth that seems immune to public opinion, and invasions of countries seemingly at random.
Now, we've definitely known that corporations have a huge influence over the government. What once was a slow approach is now blatantly in your face. They do a lot with their money. We have misaligned incentives. But I think the real way to fix society is to take those incentives and align them to humanity, to the population in general. Instead of a small, collect group of few that have the money, we need to align the incentives to the whole, to the majority, to the people it actually matters to. Centralized incentives into decentralized incentives makes the world a better place. But let's learn more about these plans so that we can dismantle them.
A new power structure in society that will overcome the existing democratic power structures. When billionaires suddenly have a tremendous amount of power and democracy has been proven to be exceedingly vulnerable.
Again, we need to take power and control from the hands of the few into the hands of the many.
The task in this world where politics has become so broken and so dysfunctional is to find a way to escape from it.
Tech instead of politics. We already had Doge and Palantir becoming the operating system of the United States, with a stated goal of being more powerful than the governments using it.
How can we help the government stop the bad guys while also putting systems in place to make sure nobody within the government was doing anything inappropriate? So you have to have systems that watch the watchers.
Who watches the watchers? Some would argue that the bad people are the billionaires. But at the end of the day, the people with the most money often have the loudest voices. Maybe we need to rethink value and purpose to make our system run from another standpoint. What does that look like? I have no idea because I'm just one person. But I'm sure if we come together as a collective, we can figure out how to come up with a new form of value. We can also figure out how to let everybody find their own purpose. Because purpose is a collective goal, like going to the moon, but it's also an individual goal, like wanting to create art. And every person has an inherent value that they can give to society. But we need to create time, space, and allow people to really find what they want to create and what they want to give value to and how they want to contribute to society. And that can only happen when people aren't confined by going from paycheck to paycheck or being forced to eat crappy food because that's all that they can afford. Realizations come with time, and time is the most valuable asset that any of us can have.
After leaving Palantir, Lonsdale, through his firm 8VC, continued investments in what's called GovTech, tech for government clients. That's surveillance tech, AI drones, AI weapons, even tech to replace 911 with AI. All aim to replace, privatize, and profit from tasks normally attributed to democratically accountable officials.
And that's the huge question does tech watch the watchers or do people watch the watchers? Is it a specific group of people that we elect? Or is it like a jury where they come in and out? Random people defined by a random number generator come in and watch the watchers. I think the latter would be more preferable. If we were all given the responsibility to care for our societies, I think we would have more onus to be able to define what we individually wanted and what most reflected the collective. Right now, the way our society is going, I don't want that to be the picture of the future. I want to create a more beautiful world that all of our hearts know is possible. But I can't do that alone. I need you to help me do that. It's not a me movement, it's a we movement.
And Lonsdale is working to convince you that we need this by making you scared. Lonsdale founded the Cicero Institute, a think tank that pushes anti-homeless messaging. Not anti-homelessness messaging, but messaging attacking the homeless themselves. And even legislation creating concentration camps where unhoused people would do forced labor.
It's basically what the prison system has turned into, a private, for profit system based on slavery at the end of the day and forcing them to work because they're in a confined system. I'm not saying that prisons should be abolished, but I don't think they should be private. Maybe prisons should be rethunk entirely, but again, I don't know the answers, and that's a collective problem that we need to solve together. A collective problem, just like the homeless situation, that we need to solve because nobody should be homeless. There's more than enough houses, but there's more than enough houses for people's need, not people's greed. That's our main problem as a society. We don't have empathy for the common man. We're not having these traits of humanism where we value the common man. We need to value each other and value the system that we can create together to incentivize for no homeless people because nobody should live out on the street. And places like China, they laugh at us because they see how many people are homeless and they just don't understand. But inherently, this is a finite game. There's going to be winners and there's going to be losers in the housing situation. Maybe the people that have the most money should lose some time. And maybe the people that don't have anything, like a roof over their heads, should win. But just like the prison systems, putting a roof over somebody's head doesn't mean that you can force them into labor. So, like everything, there needs to be a balance.
You actually can go into states. You can partner with governors. You can pass laws. Cicero's in 15 states. We're getting dozens of laws passed. And then we're going to teach people that and go to the national level.
Riling people up is definitely part of their game plan. That's what we saw in the San Francisco recalls. San Francisco had a spike in crime during the pandemic, but so did almost every big city in the United States. Only in San Francisco, which has extremely low crime rates compared to most cities in red states, did they create this massive panic using social media and doom influencers to convince everybody that everything was worse than it had ever been.
Now, riling people up is a bad thing when you use it for riots and destruction. But what if we riled people up for hope and instead of promoted doom, promoted gloom, where we could change everything we wanted with collective action, which is exactly what I'm trying to do here. Hope for the future, hope for a better tomorrow. Riling up is not bad, but it's how you use that energy to hurt or help. And I think it's time we help.
And as Lonsdale got into nonprofits and think tanks, Patrick Friedman, remember him, Milton Friedman's grandson, started his own VC firm with backing from Peter Thiel called Pronomos Capital, existing entirely for investing in privatized governments. In Honduras, Pronomos invested in the first government run entirely by a for-profit corporation, Prospera.
Prospera is this little enclave on the island of Roatan in Honduras that claims to be its own little charter city that was funded by American venture capitalists and has been touted as the flagship project of the network state movement.
But the real flagship project is something bigger: the entire United States government. It shows in policy. Remember the whole thing about taking over Greenland? That idea emerged and was celebrated by the people we've been talking about.
They said the quiet part out loud, that we've already been seeing a state run by people who have immense amounts of money, billionaires. It's the United States, and whether you like it or not, our country is controlled by people with money. But it doesn't have to be.
I think having a frontier is very healthy. I think part of America being great is that it's growing and creating more wealth for everyone. If the people in Greenland want to be part of us, if we can use those resources better and make sure Russia and China don't get advantages in the Arctic.
The Freedom City as a name didn't really gain momentum, but the idea is there. And the influence in the administration is clear. Joe Lonsdale helped staff up the Trump administration, and just recently accompanied administration officials to the Philippines to christen a new regulatory zone.
Just last week, we signed a historic deal with the Philippines, 4,000 acres, right next to Subic Bay, where we're going to build a first of its kind AI native industrial park.
I was there for a day in the Philippines with everyone. They're excited what you guys are doing.
That sounds a lot like a startup city.
It sounds a lot like controlling the narrative. It's going to be fun and great for everybody.
They've also embedded themselves with the rest of the right-wing movement.
I could not have envisioned that J.D. Vance, a Peter Thiel protege, would be the vice president of the United States. And so when Vance got onto the ticket, then it became real that this stuff could travel to the White House.
Even further showing how billionaires control the corporation of America.
In September 2024, there was a conference at Fort Mason in San Francisco called Reboot 2024. And its website announced that we were now in a new reality and that Silicon Valley was waking up and about to become this powerful force in politics. And the guest speaker was Kevin Roberts of the Heritage Foundation, who is the guy who had shepherded Project 2025. So here you had tech VCs in San Francisco and Kevin Roberts in the same venue proclaiming the new reality. And the new reality is where we are today.
Instead of Silicon Valley running the new world, what if we made a society based around Crystalline Valley, where crystals or people, the natural technology of life, creates this new reality where we come together as a collective to instill our own ideals and have a vote, allow these ideas to win or lose over each other, and maybe some areas have some ideals that other areas don't, and you move to those areas that have similar ideals to the ones that you want to be in, like many different states. Instead of one centralized democracy at the top, there's a bunch of little decentralized democracies within the states, because the United States is massive. Whereas Europe, it's very easy to go from place to place, from nation to nation. In the United States, the states maybe should be nations within themselves.
And that's showing in actual policy, like the administration's quietly announced plans for maritime prosperity zones, districts on American soil with fewer regulations for corporations to build ships and reinvigorate the industrial base. Then there's the New American Industrial Alliance, a tech industry interest group, pushing for unrestricted data center growth. They were listed as co-sponsors of the Blueprint for America, lobbying for prosperity zones on American soil, a plan to sell federal and public land to private companies to build low-regulation, low-tax havens for progress. Their co-sponsor on the blueprint was the company behind Prospera in Honduras, whose lobbying disclosures show they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars pushing for prosperity zones. But they also spent big on begging the American government for handouts of your money. They've lobbied on refunding the U.S. International Development Financial Corporation, a government organization run by Epstein associate Ben Black, that uses tax dollars to invest in American companies abroad. That's privatized foreign aid.
Again, there's using these words like prosperity to define a message that is not exemplified by prosperity for all, but prosperity for few. It's a tricky game these people play with words, to use positive words to hide something that's not positive for all underneath the message of positivity. This inversion needs to stop.
And they might finally get their way.
Black went to Honduras and promised investment in real estate and technology there, including an investment in La Ceiba, which is slated to be absorbed by Prospera.
But it's more than just government handouts. It's war crimes.
So we did a master plan, and we've developed ways to redevelop Gaza. Gaza, as President Trump's been saying, has amazing potential, and this is for the people of Gaza. We've developed it into zones.
It was sort of insane to see it all come together in this way. But again, wherever you look these days with Trump or with these tech guys, there's always the idea of a new city that they're proposing. And it's not clear why we need these new cities. You know, Gaza should be rebuilt for the Palestinians, but these guys see it as an opportunity to take the land. And so that shows you the degree to which this thinking is starting to imbue everything that they do.
Privatized war crimes to build new cities is just the pinnacle of disgusting. No idea should involve the genocide of a nation to build it. We need to move from conflict to cooperation.
Look at how the people in this fringe movement reacted to other invasions. In 2019, Mark Lutter, leader of a Peter Thiel funded New City think tank, said that overthrowing the Venezuelan government would be an opportunity for these projects. And when the invasion did happen, Lutter suggested America establish a Florida or Texas-style government there. He cites America paying for a wholesale development plan after regime change, which is exactly what we're doing in Iran today, to the tune of $300 billion. Palmer Luckey, Lonsdale and Thiel associate and founder of AI defense contractor Anduril, pictured here in cosplay, suggested a privatized city on Guantanamo Bay in Cuba, which President Trump also threatened with invasion.
Again, nobody wants this. They know that. That's why they hate populism. That's why they hate democratic representation, despite all of this being couched in freedom.
What they're asking for is to exit entirely from any government structure. But that's just not how it works, especially when most of these guys are government contractors and are still wanting to have the benefits of our society without having the responsibilities of our society.
That's not how it works. You can't be separate, but also part of the whole. You can't be centralized and decentralized at the same time. You can't have your cake and eat it too. The cake is a lie. Maybe the only winning move is to not play the game.
These are people who don't like being told no. They're angry at the pushback against data centers, that we don't want AI to take over everything, that no one supports annihilating a civilization to replace it with one they can profit from.
And this is the problem with people with money. There's a bunch of trust fund kids that have never been told no, and they don't know the value of real struggle. And in order to be a more perfect human, you have to know the value of struggle. You have to be able to discern for yourself what's right and what's wrong, and how to empathize with the common man. Value is created, not taken.
People need to understand that the billionaires have become radicalized against democracy, and they're in the process of using everything they have to try to destroy it. And that's the battle of our moment. That's the battle of our time.
It's a battle of wills between the ideals of a small group of people, the minority, versus the collective, the group of humanity that knows in their hearts what's right. And in a battle of wills, the most powerful is the ones who have the most energy on their side. And the most energy comes from the majority. 2 is always greater than 1.
It's not too late to push back. Public response to data centers works. Many of the governance as a service startups are starting their work in towns and states where you can still have a voice to stop them. The billionaire class wants to turn your home into their playland, completely change how everything is run to funnel more wealth to themselves, create chaos, and then when everything is all fucked up, walk away with their winnings to their own private enclaves, all under the guise of fixing a broken government, a government that they broke. And yeah, sure, the government is broken, but it's not because of democracy or lack of corporate privatization. It's because of corporate power. We need more democracy and less corporate control.
It's collective action by individuals that creates real change, not by people with money, but by people that care for the earth, for their home, for their community. If you enjoyed this video and have hope for the future, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, because I want to create a better tomorrow, and I can only do that with you. So, thank you. It's not a me movement, it's a we movement.